after this period, obviously you guys joined 100 Thieves, which is a big deal. Like, it's a massive org, it's a big step up as well. I'm sure the peer was a nice little bump up. Then you have all these tournaments where like you come second at Beijing, you do like a decent result at Starladder. Like, this was like the like, finally after that horrible summer, you have this like nice period. I remember the rankings, you were going way up, like way higher than you'd ever been before. Like, how would you describe this period? What was it like at the time? And on one thing that is this is why CS is a cruel game, mate. When you finally make it and you're in position to do it, then people just say, well, you didn't win. So the big problem obviously 100 Thieves had was you were a very good team, never got the trophy though. You never got the big win in the end, right?
Yeah, that was I mean, when we transferred after the Berlin major, we had this like talks about switching to another org, and it was back and forth. Is it gonna be Genji? Is it gonna be Dignitas? Is it gonna be 100 Thieves? And then are we gonna stay in Renegades? It was like a back and forth. It wasn't really. It was a. Don't want to say frustrating period, but it was something that kind of disturbed us a little bit and took us away from the game a little bit, because all of these things are happening, and there's all these offers coming in, all these people trying to talk to us and dealing with renegades, and are they going to sell us, are they going to keep us, all these things happening at the same time were kind of crazy, because we were like super confident and we wanted to play even more. And then we went to Turkey to play that Belek event, which we did pretty good. I think we were fourth, top four or something.
Yeah, fourth.
Which is a good result,
Sure.
I mean, it wasn't bad. It was a good event for us, and then we had so much travel going on back then, and all these things were happening at the same time. We were traveling and playing and trying to practice and dealing with all that, and it wasn't easy. But we managed to play decent CS, even in what was after that? It was Belek. Then we came back, and then we signed the contracts with 100 Thieves, and then we went to Beijing, right?
Yes.
And in Beijing, you know how it goes. You sign with a new org. The org like is crazy big and popular, and everything is new, and you're moving to LA, and it's all these things happening. You're doing the media for them and meeting all these new people like Nate Schott and John Robinson and all these people that are like the heads of and Jacob as well, and heads up of this great org, and it was super exciting. We went to China, super pumped, super hyped to play the IA in Beijing, and we played a great event there.
Yeah.
It was a really, really good event for us. One of the best that we have ever played. Unlucky for us, again, we ran into a prime, super strong, crazy good Astralis, that doesn't allow you to do anything. If it was any other team in the finals, we get the trophy. Any other team. Any other 5 players that you can put together against us on that day, on that finals, we would win. But it was Astralis, the greatest team, I guess, of CSGO. And they were in their prime, they were destroying everyone, and they just came there and they 3-0'd us. The first map was like really close. It was 16-14 again, Vertigo. We had that map, we dropped it, and then they just ran over us on train. And
what about this? Listen, I know you, as people can tell from this interview, you remember like most of the rounds from matches, etc. You're a tactical guy. You like to study the demos, etc. What makes Astralis so hard to play when they're in those like prime forms? What was so impossible to beat them?
Team play. Team play, and the fact that like they have two. Everybody is looking at when you play Astralis. Everybody is looking at Device, right?
Yes.
Like he is the star. He is this. Device is a star. Don't get me wrong. He's one of the best players in the world. But when you play Astralis, the most difficult people to deal with is Glaive and Sipnix. Because they read rounds better than anyone has ever did before. When you play against them, you need to do something they are not expecting, and that's a really difficult thing to accomplish. Yes. Because they're always ready. For example, I feel like I was talking about this with Aaron Ezer, that, for example, take example of Banana Inferno, right? They're CT. And there's like at least 4 different Banana takes as a T, right? You show this smoke, this molly, whatever, this combination, stuff like that. I feel that they had a reaction for every single Banana take, because them two are, let's say, playing together on Inferno, B, Sipnix, and Glaive back at the time. I feel like they had every reaction set and ready for every banana thing, and that's like the example of how they did things. You know how hard it is. You need to throw something really unusual at them, something they haven't seen. So maybe put them out of their comfort zone, out of something that they're not ready for, to actually beat them. You know, and the most two dangerous guys are Sipnix, who is always going to read the round properly and position himself to clutch, to close the round in a perfect timing, to have the timing advantage over you, the positioning advantage over you, and he's going to be somewhere you don't expect him. On the other hand, you have Glaive, who is always reading the round correctly, calling people left and right, moving himself left and right, and trying to be at the perfect spot at the perfect time. So whatever you do, he's going to be there, and those two players are most difficult to deal with. And
Sure.
and if you need to beat them, and you need to think something that's unusual. We didn't have something unusual. The Vertigo was unusual. That's why it was so close. We should have won it on Train, and I think it's Inferno. The last two maps, they were always ready for everything we did. Always ready to react, always ready to with utility, always ready with a strat, with a setup, with something, and they just played it. Aside of that, that team play was just nearly perfect. You know how they communicate. I always wanted to hear, but I never really got to the. There were some few videos, but it doesn't really show that much.
They cleverly put just like funny moments in instead of the real parts you want to see.
I wish I can go back, you know, because that's something. I mean, I respect all the successful teams. I like to learn. I learned from the SK team. I learned from like NIP team back in the day. From later from Astralis, Liquid, whoever. Doesn't matter. Whoever is like doing things right. I like to watch them and see how they do things. Maybe I'm missing something. You know, try to learn. You can always learn things. But I would like to come back in the time where they, let's say, the Berlin major or the major before that, or that period where they're like super dominant. And I wish I could understand Danish and just stand behind them to see how they communicate things and how they like move around and how they, react to certain things together with the communication, to actually try to understand how they did it. I think that would give me the better, clearer picture of how they were the best. It's not only, I mean, when you look at their squad, they're not like super flashy, Nico, Zylo, Simple, those things. They have after they had the Kerbe thing where he left for North and picking up Magisk, and they had Dupree moved up to his previous aggressive spot. It was a perfect, it was one of the best transfers that happened in CSGO. People, I think they're forgetting. They're just looking at
everyone fit their role. Exactly, yeah.
What they did is when they got Magisk, they just moved Dupree into a more aggressive, natural role that he was in, and Magisk was in his usual role as well.
Yep.
They had Zonic as well, who I respect a lot, and they had a system that was perfectly working with the perfect roles and the perfect people in those roles. So it doesn't mean that you need to have 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 superstars to make the team work. It's just about like all these other things, and they had it. And unfortunately, in Beijing, we ran into that Astralis. I wish we ran into some not ready Astralis, but it was
the one from the summer. Why couldn't you add the Blastralis one?
Blastralis. Yeah, that didn't happen, and they played a great tournament. I mean, they 16-0 phase in the semifinals.
Exactly.
Too, right?
Yes.
And then the other map was 16-4 or 16-3. So I mean,
no one was going to beat them that day. Yeah.
You can see how dominating they were in that point, and it's a shame because we felt that maybe that would be a great opening to the 100 Thieves
of course
era, with the same way EG kind of did with New York.
Yes,
right? We were kind of hoping the same, and we did our best. We reached the finals, and EG ran into a different type of Astralis than we did. We have to admit that they beat them in the finals of New York. It was 3-1, right?
Yep.
And the Astralis back then wasn't on that very day. I don't think they were the same that they were against us. Not to discredit EG or anything else, because they played insane CS at the end of that year as well, except for that tournament in Malmo or whatever the hell was. Yeah, but that was a good start for us in 100 Thieves, and then we had Pro League, which we kind of lost to Fnatic in the playoff game.
Well, that's one thing I want to ask about, because at this point, that was when one of the main teams you went head to head with was Fnatic. You beat them at that tournament in Turkey. They eliminated you though from the next 2 big tournaments, Pro League, Katowice. Now, this was the team where, if people remember, when they brought like Flusher and Golden back, no one really expected anything. But every tournament, they were top 4, they were winning events. So, like, give me some thoughts on this team, because it must be an unusual team to play against.
It's a very unusual team to play against. They have very little tells that you can use against them. You need to look very hard to find the counters. There are some counters, but they like to play. From what I've seen recently, they like to play a lot of reactionary CS, which is
Yes.
very, very difficult to counter.
I
Unless
believe their logic is they just like to default, and then from
yeah,
that, people like
yeah,
Flusher, they just know what
yeah.
they're going to do. They're going to do whatever the fuck they feel like.
Yeah, but the if you want to play that type of the game, you need to have players like Flusher that can hold up one part of the map and abuse and one part of the map by himself. He doesn't need help.
Yes.
There are players that can. Most of the players cannot do that. You send Flusher in Banana on Inferno again, and he's gonna take it by himself. Sometimes he's gonna die, obviously, but most of the times he's gonna create so much chaos and so much space for your team to do something else in the default, to react in a different way. So you can double step somewhere, you can triple take something in middle, or you can do whatever you want, because he himself is doing a lot of work for you. Most of the teams don't have that type of player, and that's why they played really good. And when we faced them, it was always a close game. Always it's a close game. Even in Kato, when we played in the quarterfinals 2020, it was like a double overtime. I think both of the maps went into overtime, and we lost both of the maps, like 1917 or something like that, 1916. But games against them were always fun to play, and you can see when you play against them, you can see how when they're losing rounds, how like they're not raging, but like they're like get pissed off, and they're so
Yeah.
you can see the passion in them every single time, even though they're playing Crimson, Flusha, and JW. They're all playing this game for what, 6 years now, right?
Yes.
And after 6 years, they still have the energy to be the and they're still on the top, and they're finishing top 4, and they were in the finals of Sydney as well, and they were
Yeah.
finals in China, they were in finals in a bunch of tournaments, semi-finals as well. So it's like they were a difficult team to play against, but always fun to play against them.